morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hope everybody's doing good. So you have a Lone Ranger this morning. That's good. I will be getting this kicked off Han Solo today. Tyler is traveling with family and on vacation, so we weren't even sure if we were going to do this today because I was supposed to be in Charlotte on a plane coming back to Denver, but I'm not. So we are live. Don't have any guests today. It'll just be me chatting at you. So the more interactive you are, the more fun it can be for sure. Definitely some big announcements. We have finalized the dates and we have the website up for the AEP LaunchCon. So if you haven't heard about that, what we're going to be doing in essence is creating a conference/workshop. So I've been cruising around the country for the last couple of years, attending every single possible event and conference that I could find that had value and all of that. And in reality, what's happened is I want to do something different. I've learned that finding a path to help people, most conferences that I find have a lot of motivation. They'll have some actionable content, but for a lot of intents and purposes, it's there's not usually a ton of substance outside of the motivation and mindset side of things. And so I want to create number one, an AEP event. Most AEP events that are put on by uplines and everything else is really a lazy process, in my opinion. But basically, most IMOs or FMOs and all that, MGAs, et cetera, they'll put together a conference and they'll invite all the carrier reps to come in and do their job for them. And basically, the carrier reps come in and they give you all the plan layouts for next year. And that's really the extent of the entire event. Maybe they take you to a place where you can go-kart driving or play golf or other dumb stuff like that. That doesn't really help you do anything to have a successful AEP at all. And in reality, all it does is make it simple where you don't got to take the tour and go around to all the AEP rollout meetings for each carrier. So they really shouldn't be called AEP kickoff or AEP anything. It's really just a simplified flea market for insurance carriers to come tell you what the changes are for next year, which doesn't help most people create an actionable, usable, tactical plan to have actual success during AEP. And so that's what the AEP LaunchCon is going to be all about. We're trying to put together some of the top people across the country who can pour in, not just from a speech from stage, but literally think of it like a flea market setup almost on day two, where there's a bunch of different stations like an assembly line, and you go through each station to receive actual usable planning and content for you and your situation in your area. And so it's really going to be designed to do something that no one else is doing, which is help people actually have a successful AEP beyond just telling you what the plan changes are. So definitely you should be there. Misty Bolt, Medicare Misty, and I are spearheading this thing, and it's going to be in Knoxville, Tennessee. We were looking at either Nashville or Knoxville. Knoxville is going to make more sense. What I really want with this conference is to make it affordable for everybody, not just the top producing agents, not just the top 1%, but the bottom 90% that are looking to get into the top 10%. And I want it to be affordable for everybody. And so hopefully you can make it. If you can't make it in person, again, that's 25th and 26th of August. So it's a Friday, Saturday in Knoxville, Tennessee. On the 28th, we will also have a Crush AEP launch workshop boot camp on a virtual basis, which is an abridged version of some of the content that you would see at AEP LaunchCon. And so hopefully you're at one or both of those events. If you want to have your best AEP ever, if you're in the Medicare space, wanting to get in the Medicare space, now is the time to start that planning. You got to get your hip knocked out. You got to get your certifications done. And then you really want to start the planning process. And so that's really what my focus is right now for anyone in this industry. You should really be full steam ahead in your AEP planning at this point and finding the places that you're going to fish. right? So if you don't know how a fishing tournament works, the people will show up a day or two early. Same thing with a bowling tournament. Same thing with most tournaments. People will show up a day or two early to get practice rounds or reps in. Same thing with golf. Get a practice round in, learn the course, get a feel for the conditions and the weather and all of that kind of stuff. Same thing with AEP. You need to start conditioning yourself and getting prepared for the season that is AEP. Most people wait until August 30th, September 1st, 15th, somewhere in that range to start thinking about AEP. You should start thinking about it now. You should start taking some actionable steps. And so I'm going to drop out a few things that I would do now to prepare for AEP. And so I'm going to start with two different categories of people. So there's new agents. So agents that are in year 1 or 2, to me, is a new agent. If you're in year 1 or year 2, your AEP is almost always directly derivative to your ability to work your warm market and your ability to buy or obtain leads. But frankly, leads are very difficult to generate in AEP. So if you wait until October to start doing mail drops or lead initiatives and other things like that, you're way late. So if you're doing lead drops, I would start doing lead drops probably mid-July, early August for AEP. Not necessarily advertising AEP, but you want to get people to call you to get scheduled for AEP. Okay. So you have to be very clear on the compliance side of things, and you can't start talking about things, talking about changes. What you can do though is say it's coming and you need to get on the calendar to get your evaluation done. And that should be the message. And it should go with a full court press on your current book of business. And you should really focus on retention right now, more so than anything else. And yes, Holden, get your warm up grind started right now. And if you're really trying to take things to the next level, this is where you got to start training your body as well. So you've got to reverse engineer things, set your goals first. For those that were on this in the Charlotte 90-day boot camp yesterday, they got that information. They started to put that process in play as far as, what do I do to start retention now? What do I do to start, really leveraging the community resource relationships that I have for AEP? What am I going to do to set up for success? And that's really what this is all about, is setting yourself up for a position that you will have a higher chance of success. And you do that by starting to fill your calendar now. Like if you focus on filling your AEP calendar now, what you'll end up finding is you can fill your whole month of October from the 15th to the end of the month before you even get there, if you make a concerted effort at that. Now, there's two phases to AEP. There's retention and there's growth. You should be focused on retention right now. Retention is done all year round. Retention drives retention is driven by service, and also referrals are driven by service. So the check-in point for the third quarter, so July 1st is the third quarter. It's going to be here before you know it, next week. Okay. That is when you should start the process to reaching out to your current clients. Just saying, hi, how you been? How are things? Oh, by the way, my calendar fills up really quickly, as you know, in October. Would you like to reserve one of the good spots now? And what you're trying to do is go through your book of business and all your clients and find out who is a planner, who wants to schedule now, who can help, who can I fill up my calendar. And again, your retention should go from October 1st to October 14th. So when you're scheduling your reviews with your current clients, that process should be done whenever possible between October 1st and 14th. And the reason is that's pre-AEP. That's when you want to get all your stuff done to determine out of your current clients who needs to stay where they are and who needs to potentially look at making a change. And you need to get those two crowds separated out, because those that need to make a change, you'll need to set an actual appointment between the 15th of October and the 7th of December. And so you want to try to minimize the amount of time you're spending during the actual annual enrollment period on retention and maximize your time focused on growth. So you control your schedule, right? You got to learn to do that. You can use automations and other things. I personally don't like to use things like Calendly and other automations for my schedule. I like to maintain control of my schedule and where I'm going to be and how long I'm going to be there and all those different things. So there are ways in certain situations that if you have a wide open calendar, Calendly makes a lot of sense. If you don't have a full calendar, those kind of automations make a whole lot of sense. For someone like me whose calendar is full all the time, Calendly is a nightmare because people pick spots that don't necessarily make sense. Because the thing that you can't factor into Calendly, especially if you're running a face-to-face game like I am, is how far apart people live. So someone in one area could schedule at 10 a.m. You could have someone in a completely different area just because it's open on your schedule. Someone 2 hours away could schedule an hour apart. And so you can have those kind of issues, scheduling issues with automation. So use them wisely is my best advice, and make sure that you set the thing up before correctly and you test it out. Make sure you're testing your automations. So now is the time to start warming up your current clients, warming up by getting back in touch. If you don't do quarterly calls like my office does, this is your chance to reconnect. Middle of the year, make sure everything's been going okay. Make sure they don't have any questions, haven't had any claim problems, any billing issues, anything at all. And what you'll find is a lot of people don't call you because they don't want to bother you. And no matter how much you tell them, no matter how much you plead with them, that's just the way human nature works. And so by you doing the outreach, while I have you, then you can get those kind of questions in. And it really helps to minimize disruption, minimize points of pain. If you're one of your clients is having a billing issue middle of the year and they're not bringing it to your attention, they're trying to fight it themselves, and then at the end of the process they're not successful, they could misappropriate frustration, anger, etc., on either you and or the insurance company or both. And a lot of times with the way this works is there's a misconception. Even though I walk around dressed in Medicare Peace of Mind logoed up stuff all the time, my car's covered in that, I still get misassociated as the Humana guy, the United Healthcare guy, the whatever insurance company I help somebody with. They can end up labeling you that way. And so it's really critical for most of us to make sure that we not only stay in touch with our clients, but we're figuring out ways to be better and more efficient. And so I've learned over the years, having the quarterly calls is it's painstakingly time consuming. However, it is worth it every single time. Retention rates are higher. It doesn't mean I don't ever lose clients. That's going to happen to anybody and everybody. What you can do, though, is create relationships with people that are longer lasting and that can withstand adversity. Last week, I had somebody who called me because somebody had come over. She filled out a postcard. Somebody came over and helped her change her plan, and she wasn't sure if it was the right thing or not. And in reality, I told her, you got to do what you got to do. I did explain how in that process, she would lose me in my office. And at first she said, we'll check in again in AEP. I'm just going to see how this goes. And then a day and a half later, she called me and said, I thought about it. And I thought about all the times that you and your office have helped and stepped up and helped me fix things with Social Security and other things. And she said, I want to stay with you guys. And so that the service drives retention. The service drives referrals. If you're not taking on the customer service for your client and you're outsourcing that to the insurance companies, trust me when I say you're just setting yourself up to lose clients, because whatever you're conditioning them to do, they'll do. And so if they call you 3 times this year and all 3 times you say call the insurance carrier, they're going to skip calling you next time. They're going to just go straight to the insurance carrier. And not necessarily anything wrong with it, other than I've had situations where not the insurance carrier themselves, but people that work there in the call centers and other places, if one of your clients calls with a problem, there's been plenty of situations in my career where that client has been stolen by a call center agent trying to help, right? And so my personal stance is if we're going to call the insurance company, it's going to be together. Like chaperone your client, walk them, give them the Ruth Chris service. When someone's asking for the bathroom, show them where the bathroom is. Don't just point. Don't just point at the insurance company and say, call them. It's not my problem. That's their problem. It's your problem. If you're taking them on into your family, into your client base, you should take that very seriously. And you should focus on the service side of things and focus on the experience that the consumer and the customer has, because that's what they're going to share with other people. And really, people don't share average experiences. People only share really bad experiences or really good experiences. And so you don't want to be average and you don't want to be really bad. You want to focus on how can I get, and it doesn't take a ton of money or effort or time or anything else. It just takes a little bit of thoughtfulness, a little bit of consideration, a little bit of planning to make your clients feel special, to go above and beyond. Do things like client appreciation lunches and fairs and other things. There's nothing that says you can't set up your own little event and invite people to it. Invite your customers to it and have them bring family and friends. There's nothing better than connecting with not just your clients, but the families of your clients and the friends of your clients. There's so much value there that if finding ways to be different and unique shouldn't be that difficult for you. And if you really made a focused effort on this part of things, it would become so much easier as far as retention and referral rates and everything else. If you have a unique experience, if you have a unique process, if you have opportunity to show what makes you unique and different. Because when you're recruiting clients and you're think of it like attracting, like that's a better word for going after clients. You need to learn how to attract clients, not necessarily pursue clients. So pursuing clients is working leads. Pursuing clients is being at events and sitting at trade shows and parking lots and doing educational seminars and all of that. That's the pursuit. The attractiveness comes when the experience and the process and the feeling that someone gets and the experience of you helping guide them through the process. Think of it like a good tour guide versus a bad tour guide. Most people have been on tours with both a good tour guide and a bad tour guide. All of you have experienced people that love their job and you've experienced people that hate their job. And that's really where the magic lies. The magic lies in not stressing out and not becoming commission breathed, is what I call it, becoming desperate for sales, and that comes through in phone calls and presentations and body language. What you need to do is just be happy, have fun. Fun, happy people are attractive. Like if you're in a room and you hear a bunch of laughing and fun and dancing over there, your brain can't help but want to go over there. You may not go over there, but your brain wants to go over there. And so you need to learn to attract rather than hunt. I hear that all the time. You should be hunting rather than gathering, which I agree with. Hunting is better than gathering, but attracting is so much easier. If you're truly attracting people, what happens is you then are if you're authentic in that process, then you attract the people that have like things that have similar likes and thought processes and beliefs and all of that. And that's the beauty of this is there's enough people to go around, there's enough different personality types to go around that you don't have to do anything but be yourself. But being yourself, you've got to learn ways to be unique and you individually you. What are you going to be known for? Who are you going to be known as? What kind of things do you want people talking about when they think of you? What kind of belief are you going to instill across the board? And that comes down to core values. I've been going around the country for the last 6 months now, doing boot camps and workshops, and I can't tell you, I can't even count on one finger. There's been nobody that I've run into that has established and they are using effectively core values. Like, what is the core values and what is the mission of your agency? It's it shouldn't just be to help people. That's too vague and not direct enough. You've got to be very specific on what your core values are. And your core values should align with your personal core values. The core values of your business, if they don't align with your personal core values, I don't understand what that concept's supposed to do. Your business should be a reflection of you and the best possible reflection you can put out. So what are you doing in your business to brand differently? What are you doing in your business to stand out? For me, it's a combination of several things. I said this yesterday in the Charlotte Boot Camp. I'm an extreme introvert. So for me, a piece of the reason that I wear my uniform every day is it allows me to assume a certain identity and mindset. Okay. It's like putting on the costume, you're putting on the suit, you're putting on the Spider-Man suit. You have to take the character of Spider-Man and you have to create that superhero of perfect combination of attributes that you can put down on paper. That's who you should try to be when you're in work mode. And the closer that person is to the person you really are, the better. Except for things like I have to be honest with myself and say, look, I am an introvert. Like in general, if you gave me a choice, go out or stay home, like almost always I'm going to stay home. And if I go out, I'd rather go out and go fishing by myself, go fishing with one or two people like my kids or something like that. I'm a very, very solitude driven, Lone Ranger, lone wolf style human. But that's not conducive to being massively productive on helping a bunch of people and building rapport and charisma with a bunch of people. So I've had to learn to assume an identity that I need to put out to make myself more effective. Doesn't mean be fake or ingenuous. It's not that I'm being fake. So I'm doing things that I don't want to do, but I'm making it look like I enjoy it. That's the difference. Doing things that you don't want to do while enjoying it and thriving on the struggle, thriving on the pain. The people that are able to thrive on the struggle, thrive on the pain are the ones that make the most progress because they don't stop when the first moment of resistance or pain happens. They push through. I like to think of myself as someone who pushes through. When the adversity comes, when the tough gets going, I like to push harder, go deeper, go faster, put myself all in. Aaron and I talk about it all the time. Every 2 to 5 years, you're going to see me somehow, some way risk it all. I somehow figure out a way to go all in every couple of years. Where we could keep some safety here, but why not just roll it all in and do the full roll up, and let's see if we can really get some momentum. Momentum is such a magical, not just a word, but it's a magical process. If you can carry momentum, it can carry a lot of things, which is why now is when you start planning for AEP. Now is when you start greasing the wheels and start checking things, and you're going to start doing the routine maintenance on your current clients so that when it's time to leverage and put pressure on and other things, they're already battle tested. They're already well maintained, ready to roll machines. What's up, Chase? So we have opportunity right now. Nothing but opportunity right now. There's going to be some disruption. I got wind yesterday that a bunch of captive agents from an insurance company got let go all at once. I'm seeing a bunch of people looking for new opportunity all at once. And those kind of things, disruption is the spearhead of opportunity. And those that are ready when the storm hits are the ones that take advantage and are the ones that grow the most and the ones that get the most bang out of their buck. And so what are you doing to set up? Again, reach out to your clients now. You should be doing text campaigns, you should do email campaign, and you should do a postal mail campaign on top of just calling them. Nothing better than old school, just calling your clients and seeing how things are going. So it's critical if you're in the insurance industry and you're wanting to do Medicare to start the planning process now. And if you've been on the fence out there and you're wondering, hey, should I get into this business? Should I start into the insurance Medicare space? Should I switch over and add it from PNC, or should I switch from final expense, or should I add? Add's probably better than switch. Should I add something to my repertoire? Now is the time. And frankly, now is the perfect time to start if you're new, because it'll shorten the worst year that there is, which is the first year. Like June is the perfect month to start in Medicare because it allows you a couple of months to get your feet wet, get your feet under you. Then you have this storm that is AEP, where you have an opportunity to get some momentum financially going into January. And it can really uh, literally launch your career if you do it correctly. It's exactly what happened to me. I launched June 1st, 2018, and the rest was history. That first 6 months was terrible. It was painful. It was long. It was hard. I was stressed all the time. I was short on money every single second, yet I still had to drive all over the place and invest in things like gasoline and stamps and postcards and all these different things when I didn't have any money for the family. I couldn't pay the mortgage. I couldn't do rent. So I had to borrow a bunch of money and all those kind of things. You've got to learn to be resourceful when the storm hits because it's easy to crush it when it's sunny, right? It's easy when there's no issues. It's easy when there's no pressure. But when you start to get the pressure of time crunch and financials, and then add in the extra stress for those on Medicare, the fact that you don't get paid on anything from October to December, unless it's someone turning 65 or some other special situation. But the majority of what the work that you're doing in that time, there's no money. Like how many jobs out there could people like go from October to December, October 15th to December 7th with virtually no pay for all the work they're doing? How well would the economy do? Well, it'd probably crash. And so you've got to understand that and you've got to have a plan going in. A hospital indemnity should be one of your cornerstones that saves your day through an AEP, especially your first year. You need to learn about the value of hospital indemnity and you need to learn how to present it correctly because people buy things of value. And so you've got to understand the value before you can transfer that belief to somebody else. That's one of the key ingredients of it all. And so a successful AEP is one that you take the time to set up. You take an opportunity to really plan and scout out what the mission is. And so that starts with setting a goal. That's what I had everybody do yesterday. Okay, what's your goal? Have you ever really sat down and reverse engineered? And the funny thing is, most people just tell me, well, I want to do 50 or I want to do 100 or I want to do 150 or 200 or whatever. That's not a motivating thing. Most people aren't motivated by doing 200 applications. People are motivated by the result of those two applications 200 smiling faces, 200 lives changed, the 200 times whatever amount of money you're going to earn for helping those people. Those are the key cogs that you should be focused on. And so if you want to figure out how to set a good AEP goal, first thing you got to do is figure out how much money do I want to make? Because you got to reverse engineer everything from there because it costs money to make money and you got to figure out what is comfortable. Because I hear people say, well, I want financial freedom. And then you ask them, well, what does that mean? How much money is that to you? How much money do you need to make to have financial freedom? Because I can tell you every line that I thought there was so far of where I thought financial freedom lied, all I can tell you it just gets more and more complicated. The random question for you: if I had a broker manager inform me that door knocking isn't compliant, if someone fills out a direct mail lead and doesn't answer the phone, can we door knock them? Well, if you have permission to contact, technically, for up until now, you've been able to get around that in a gray area. What I would say is this: for Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans, it's best not to door knock, even if you have permission to contact, even if you have a lead. I would get more creative than door knocking at this point. And so the answer is maybe. It might be compliant, it might not be. It depends on the scenario and the situation and how you're doing it. And so there's some variables to that. But what I can say is there's no rules that say you can't door knock for MedSup. There's no rules that say you can't door knock for final expense. And so if you're looking for ways to get creative on your leads, number one, you could try door knocking. Number two, you might look at other lead types and lead sources, like things like inbound calls. You can also look at like telemarketed leads versus a direct mail lead, where you have somebody that's called out and created the interest on their side and then pass it over to you. And most of the people that are doing those also give you a copy of the recording for the phone call. To me, I used to be like direct mail is the bee's knees of all leads. And the main reason for that opinion was that with direct mail leads, I had something tangible in my hand that I could remove the objection of I didn't do that. And my biggest problem with Facebook and YouTube and digital leads is there's like outside of like printing off an IP tracer or something, there's not a lot of tangible proof that I have that in fact was the person that filled it out. It very easily could have been their grandkid who was on Facebook playing games and they accidentally clicked the form or something. You just never know. Where with a direct mail lead, I at least had somebody's handwriting who filled out a card and I could like show it to them. Here it is. Here's the handwriting. See it? What I like about telemarketed calls is you get an opportunity to basically eavesdrop on the potential client and listen to their voice, listen to their personality, listen to how they talk, listen to how they react to things. Because frankly, most of the telemarketing leads that I've ever gotten, I cringe like a son of a gun when I'm listening to the call because it's something I would never do because it's so foreign to me and my core values of my agency. But to me, I would rather save these people no matter what it takes than just say, well, I don't want to do those. That's a greasy way to do it, or that's a grimy. Not necessarily. It's only a greasy, grimy way to do it is if at the end of it you take advantage of somebody. So if you're legitimately buying legitimate telemarketed leads or direct mail leads, or you're generating them yourself on Facebook or YouTube, you got to learn how to maximize that opportunity. What I don't like about Facebook and YouTube is you don't really get any kind of perception of the person. You don't get any idea of personality. You don't get any idea of what mood they're in. Nothing. Where with handwriting, you can tell a lot about somebody by their handwriting, and hearing somebody talk without them knowing necessarily that you're listening or watching, you can learn a lot about somebody by how they talk. And so for those reasons, that's why I really prefer direct mail and telemarketed leads over anything else, because I have some information to go off of in the beginning. So, but yeah, door knocking. Most of the door knocking I would encourage is to like business to business. Will you ever go over your telemarketing lead system in your AAP kickoff boot camp? Sorry, I tuned in late. I'm gonna give my phone. It's possible, sure. Leads are a necessary part of AEP, and I'm absolutely going to be utilizing as many strategies as possible. So that will definitely be part of the AEP kickoff boot camp for sure, and the Crush AEP virtual boot camp as well. Definitely, we go over leads in those. But yeah, great questions. Yeah, speaking of leads, what is a lead? I get that question a lot. What is a lead? A lead is somebody that has some level of interest in what you do. Some level of interest. And your job is to turn some level of interest into a motivating point of pain. If you didn't notice, points of pain motivate people to do things, which is why, like when you get pulled over for speeding, what do they do to punish you typically? They give you a financial penalty because making you pay for it financially is the most motivating thing that they've found that they can do. So, what are you doing to motivate people to want to work with you? What are you doing to attract people to you? Because if you do this business correctly, leads eventually become non-necessary. Leads only become necessary when you're trying to scale. Referrals are not scalable, by the way. Get that question all the time. How do you scale referrals? You don't, other than doing it over and over again. But the problem with any lead source is they die. Everything has a cycle. And so I've made the mistake several times. Your best, when you find a really good lead type or source or method, don't tell nobody. Keep it to yourself. I've done that before, and it's good to help and share with other people, but there's a time in business to be selfish, and there's a time in business to, when you find a honey hole, keep it to yourself and to your team. Be selfish with it, because most honey holes don't last forever, and most honey holes aren't big enough to handle the demand of the entire market. Because most insurance agents, whether you believe this or not, I've learned this in my long career. I was told many times by my first mentor, insurance habits are two things: lazy and creatures of habit, is what he would tell me all the time. Lazy creatures of habit. So if you really analyze that and you look at yourself and go, am I a lazy creature of habit? I would bet you are. I bet you when it comes to certain situations and certain types of products, you lean towards one company most of the time. You lead towards, let's say you do Sunfire all the time. You probably don't like the online platform for lean for United Healthcare as an example compared to the Sunfire. And so whatever your habits are, that usually shows up in what you're doing. And so when we look at opportunity in AEP, so I'm going to keep the focus on AEP here. When we look at opportunity for AEP, it's really your ability to demonstrate and or remind your family, friends, clients, etc., referral partners, all of those, remind them what made you different and special to begin with. What made you unique? What made you um, be a separator in an environment where everybody's a copycat? So, I mean that's the idea. Lazy creatures of habit aren't innovating, aren't pushing the envelope, aren't doing things. And so, anytime you can be that, you separate yourself from 95 to 98% of other agents, because most agents, again, are lazy creatures of habit. They do the same thing every time, every time, every time. And it becomes very easy to fall back on those things and challenging themselves and or moving to a more difficult method. The clients I sat with yesterday, they said, "Well, so how does it work? Do we just stay on the same plan? Do we have to look every year?" And I said, I yes, Travis, it is being recorded. I say, it's it's not something that you have to. What's the right word I'm looking for? I lost my train of thought, so I'm going to just pivot from that. Um, when we're focused on how we compete against our competition, understanding the fact that they're lazy creatures of habit, you can take advantage of that. And what I mean by that is, you know, there's nothing that stops you from collaboration. There's nothing that stops you from uh, taking ideas and running with them from other people. And so pay attention to what your competition is doing and try to innovate above it, try to innovate around it, try to innovate through it so that you're better or different in some way. And so if somebody's crushing it in your area with turning 65 seminars as an example, well, how would I compete with that? Well, I would have a more fun and better idea for an event. I would make my event more fun and more attractive than theirs. And so if they're just doing a boring old seminar presentation, I'm going to turn mine into some kind of party or event that has fun involved, maybe dancing or games. Um, no, innovation is fun when you're at a point where you're able to make micro adjustments to make course charting changes. That's a tongue twister by itself. To change course is to take a risk, which is why most agents are lazy creatures of habit. They keep doing what's always worked, right? Um, my original mentor, he was painfully stuck in the old way of direct mail is king. Uh, it was pound the pavement. It was smile and dial. It was walk and talk. All those old cliches, coffees for closers. Um, that old school hard close, high pressure salesy mindset, which is where a lot of the negative connotations to salesmen and women came from. But in reality, it's not your ability to be a hardcore closer nowadays. The closing, what is closing? Closing is your ability to get somebody over the hump, over the decision line, over to trust you, really. Um, when I think of closing, there's not really any closing. The closing is on you. You need to get them to buy into you, and then they'll buy anything that you're doing. If the buy-in, like that's why branding, like personal branding, like Bradley or Grant Cardone or any of these people that use their personal brand to grow, that's where it comes from. Let's see, just started running Facebook ads in other states. Had a call this morning with a woman in Florida, had Medicare Part B, but no Part A, was stuck on the phone with Social Security forever. Any tips on helping? Well, this time of year it's tougher, so the GEP would be the time to try to do that, and it would really depend on if she's qualified for Medicaid or not. There are situations where you can get Medicaid to pay for Part A, um, but yeah, unfortunately, in those situations, a lot of the time, the best thing you can do to help them is help them make sure they always get the right drug plan. But otherwise, um, my best success has been either calling into the backdoor phone number and hoping for a good rep, or what I really recommend is, well, it's probably in a different state for you, I would guess, um, but getting an ally in your local Social Security office that you can text with, basically become friends with them somehow, some way, take them to lunch, do something, bring them a gift, anything at all. But yeah, to add Part A when someone has Part B only, it's typically a quarters issue, and in a lot of states, Medicaid says they don't like to pay for Part A, but there are creative ways that you can get them to do it with a file and suspend or a conditional Part A application, as an example that you can use. But most of the time, you're going to need to do that during the GEP from January 1st to March 31st, unless they qualify for a special enrollment period, loss of group, or something like that. All right. We have 9 minutes. So if there's anything anyone wants me to go over in 9 minutes, great. Otherwise, I'll just keep yapping. I don't know. I like it better when we have Tyler or at least somebody else on these. I don't like to just sit here and yap as much. Let's see. What can I go over next? Stories. Let's probably let's finish with that. Stories. If you're not using stories to explain concepts, that's how. By the way, that's how you make a complex topic simple. Is you use it's kind of like in the spelling bee when they say, "Can you use that in a sentence? Can you give me an applicable usage of that?" Finished AHIP last week. Any advantage with the carriers if I complete it before the other agents? Yes, because then there would be. I would reach out to all your carrier reps, let them know that you're fully certified and that you're open and ready for any and all opportunities that there may be. And that's my advice too for anyone. You basically want to say yes to every opportunity until you can afford to say no. Let's see. We got morning, Chris. Would you recommend right now if someone has A and B, no enrollment period, just getting them into something, maybe a SUP or cancer plan, and then switch them if appropriate to an MAPD and yes, I would definitely. I've done that. I did that last year. I had a guy who moved from Greeley, Colorado to Haxton, Colorado, and he didn't know when he did that. He moved to a county with no Medicare Advantage. And so his old Medicare Advantage got canceled. And luckily for him, that change of county created a guarantee issue right into MedSup. And so we took advantage of the guarantee issue right for change of county in that scenario. But yeah, if you run into someone who doesn't have an enrollment period, you definitely want to tether them with something to protect them. Because like I tell everybody, A and B by itself is, I mean, it's not quite being uninsured, but it sure isn't. It's kind of like wearing a paper blanket in the rainstorm. I don't know how effective it would be at keeping you dry. So yeah, I would definitely try to help protect them in any way they can, and then look at an AEP, any kind of adjustments that you could make. You're here. Well, you're always here, Holden. Sometimes I wonder if you have anything to do. It's at 8 a.m. on Wednesday mornings, but maybe you're just such a fanatic of the machine process that you just can't help yourself. That you want to make sure I'm not talking smack. Holden has tried to beat me for ever since he hit the field. He's come close, but fighter spirit never dies. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, stories. Who wouldn't be a fanatic? There's plenty of people who don't like me, and that's okay. Um, but yeah, I usually don't like them back, which is kind of how that works. But yeah, I'm big on stories. And so I'll give you an example. Recently, I started to change up my mindset again with how I approached how I was looking at hospital indemnity. And especially for those turning 65 when they're guarantee issue for those kind of products, it's doubly important. And the analogy I can give you is, and that ties right into what Chris just asked, somebody that has Part A and Part B, would you not really insist on them having a supplement? Same thing. I tell people that when you have a Medicare Advantage plan, it makes sense to have a supplement to the Medicare Advantage plan. Now, it doesn't work exactly like a supplement where it's filling in all of the holes except for a small deductible. But I would argue that hospital indemnity paired with a Medicare Advantage plan, if set up correctly, it covers almost all of the big copay events that could happen. So let's see. Mike says, what do you suggest lead wise if you have 5K to invest? First, I would choose what type of fish I was targeting, Mike. So would you want to go after for Medicare? If it's Medicare specifically, you first got to choose turning 65 or everybody else. And for me, I always pick turning 65. So I would invest 5K into turning 65. If I had 5K to invest into turning 65, what I would do is I would set up a seminar this month, next month, or not this month because it's too late. I would set up a seminar for late July, early August, and then I would do another one 4-6 weeks apart for 3 months in a row. And I would use my $5,000 to do advertising to fill those 3 seminars. Now, in that scenario, like normally, I'm going to target people way farther out as far as how far away we are from their 65th birthday. If I only had 5K to invest, I'm not sure if that's the question. If I only have 5K or if I was just going to invest 5K. If I only had 5K, then I would treat that differently, and I would probably target people that are turning 65. Like if I was doing it right now, I would target those turning 65 from October to February so that I'm really close to their window for anybody that does respond or show up. That way I'm not waiting a long time to get the return on my investment. If I'm established and I have 5K in my budget and I'm not sure how to invest it, then I'm going to do the long play. And those 3 seminars that I do will be targeting people 9 to 15 months out, knowing that I have to wait 6 to 9 months to get return. As far as leads go, I would probably, if I had any money left over after doing the 3 seminars, I would probably do a drop of direct mail to T65 as well. Good questions. So yeah, back to the hospital indemnity. I want to finish with that. So here's what I did to change this month for any Medicare Advantage plan. I just present the hospital indemnity the same as I would a med sup. Like I'm not going to present Part A and Part B in a drug plan only without also talking about a med sup. I'm not going to talk about a Medicare Advantage plan without also talking about hospital indemnity. They can always say, no, I don't want it. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to have a situation where I could have educated somebody and they would have found value and they would have protected themselves. I don't want to get that phone call. I don't want to get that phone call where I could have bought it, but I didn't. I could have done this, but I didn't. I should have listened to you. Any of that kind of stuff. That's my biggest fear as an agent. Is one of my clients I could have protected, but I didn't because I didn't ask the question or I didn't have the guts to present because I was afraid they would think I was a salesman. It's okay if they think you're a salesman because my job is to sell. And sometimes selling means I need to convince you to do something you didn't think you should or want to do yet. My job is to build in the value. Let's see. I'm getting to the point where different carriers are offering me cold hard cash for marketing. Yeah, absolutely. Have I ever turned down co-op dollars? No. No. I will find a way to make whatever work. I'm not going to sell my soul, but true co-op dollars where someone's willing to pay half of whatever I'm doing already, count me in. And a lot of times, to be honest, there's situations where I'll go to carrier A and say, hey, I'm doing this, will you co-op it? They'll say, yes, we'll do half. Then I'll take the same thing and go to carrier B and say, hey, I'm doing this, will you co-op it? They'll say, yeah, we pay half, and then I pay zero. And so there are plenty of creative methods and ways to maximize your marketing horsepower. If you know the plan isn't the best, well, I'll give you an example. An unnamed carrier last AEP offered me substantially more than any other carrier. So I'm not going to name names here, but one carrier offered me $4,000 of marketing support, and they wanted 500 applications for that. If you figure out a way to get 500 applications from $4,000 of marketing, you let me know. And then I had another carrier who offered $11,000 of support, and they wanted 100 applications. Well, unfortunately, I took them both. So I always say yes to everything. So I took them both, and one of them ended up panning out, and I didn't do the 500 for the 4,000, but we met what we met. The other carrier ended up getting upset on some levels that I didn't meet their goal. But what they didn't tell me at the time was what their star rating was going to end up being, and some other factors that made it difficult for me to hit the number they wanted me to hit. At the end of the day, they ended up saying something, and I said, you know what, if you want me, I'll write you a check for the 11 grand and give it back to you right now, but I'm not going to be held hostage by anything that you did or didn't do, because I don't control a lot of the variables in the game. And I'm not in the business of steering people to a plan just because you paid me marketing dollars to help. Like, the marketing dollars that help me get in front of people, your job is to have the right product with the right benefits, with the right network in the right area that matches up to the people I'm sitting with. Like, I am completely impartial. Whoever I sit with, their situation, their prescriptions, their doctors, their budget, their mindset, everything in them determines what I help them get. And so I don't have a favorite. But yeah, no, marketing dollars, you should never turn them down. You just got to set clear expectations that, like, look, I'm going to do my best, but I can't guarantee anything. And so as long as you keep that mantra, you shouldn't have any issues. What I will tell you is the more you produce, the more power you have for that to happen. Like, if you're a brand new agent and someone gives you co-op dollars and you completely flop it, it's not that they're going to like cancel you, but they're going to probably think twice about giving you marketing dollars again. So anyways, everybody have a great day. I'm going to go crush it. You're going to go crush it. We'll see you next week. I am Joshua Youngs, the Medicare Machine. This is the Medicare Machine Factory Top 1% podcast. And again, if you haven't gotten your ticket, mmfactory.pro/AEP LaunchCon 2023. You should be there. There's no reason not to. I'm going to have the lineup of all lineups, and they're going to be doing more than just standing on stage talking to you. So I hope to see you there. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you next time.